Hey guys, Spartan here, and welcome to a ranking video for FTL Multiverse, and this will be ranking the unique crew that you can get. So, just to preface this, if you are wanting to go into this mod blind and not be amazed by, like, how good the unique crew members are, you can, like, find them on your own and discover what they do, yeah, just probably skip this video. But, yeah. I'll be ranking them if they are on Aenwithe's cruiser, with the exception of the Mantis Bishop, because that's just a Mantis Bishop, it's not actually a unique crew member. And, just like to say, this is an opinion piece, so, if my ranking is different to yours, I'd like to hear what else, or what you would put where, because I know I value some crew differently than most people do. So, let's start, shall we? Right. Now, we have 35 amazing units to discuss right here, right now. I'm also not including the Crystal Equinoid because it's not actually like a unique crew. At least it has no interactions with it. You can't ask it about the Paragon, so I'm not including it. It's basically an extension of Jerry. So, number 35, the bottom of the barrel of the unique characters, we have Billy. You know what? I'm going to go into the crew menu and take a look at these. So, Billy. Billy's benefits are that he's a slug that can enter a box when he's below 50 HP. And he heals while in the box very quickly. But the thing is, he can't do anything while in the box. And, yeah, he also heals at half speed from pretty much everything. Aside from, like, instantaneous heals such as medical crew, the clone bay, and, like, Guntput's ability and that sort of junk. Basically, Billy has no real benefit aside from the fact that he's a slug, and slugs are really good in Multiverse. But that leaves him at the bottom of the barrel. Sorry, Billy, you kind of suck. Number 34 is Tuco. Now, Tuco does deal more damage the more enemies are in the room, but usually you want to kill the enemies in the room instead of, you know, keep them in there to buff your damage. He does move at regular speed outside of combat, which is actually pretty useful if you want to use him on the ship. And he buffs allied outcasts by 20% combat and repair speed. But the thing is that outcasts suck, and they aren't very common. Like, they have their own sector. Yes, you can get one from the guard ship, yes, but you most likely will be throwing out outcasts as soon as possible because they're not really useful. So yeah, sorry Tuco, you kind of suck. Also, you get him fairly late, like, you wouldn't be keeping outcasts just for the chance that you find Tuco. Also, he has, like, very few blue events. I'm not going to be bringing up blue events, but Tuco is, yeah. Number 33... Alcrum. So, Alcrum is a leech. If you've never played Multiverse, first off, why are you watching this video? Second off, all leeches drain power from enemy systems they're in, and Alcrum's power is that other leeches get double power drain, which is kind of useful, but the thing is that you need other leeches in order for him to really do anything. Yeah, sure, he takes less damage in combat. He does move slower, though. And he protects other allied crew from being stunned, but that just makes himself stunned. And considering that he has a 1.5 times stun duration, then Alcrum just tends to not move after he gets stunned for, like, ever. He's kind of a liability in boarding combat, and there are, just like any other crew member is better for boarding, Tuco is pretty much better than boarding. Like, I was considering putting this guy at the bottom of the list, but luckily for him, Billy is just worse. Next up, we have Rig, or Tintan and Rig. Tintan and Rig doesn't really do anything bad, it's just that he's the least good of these units. So we've officially gone from, like, pretty useless to decent. He's just a Rockman and a Zoltan at the same time. He benefits from Zoltan buffs and Rock buffs. And yeah, that's about it. He's a Rockman that basically just gives you one power on his system. Not bad, but I mean, he's a unique crew. Like, the event you get him from isn't even particularly unique. It's just, oh hey, mind control. But yeah, next up on the list, number 31, we have Machant. Now, Machant is a weird unit. It doesn't carry the negative repair speed that most lizards do. His active ability is actually pretty good. It doubles the repair and sabotage speed of himself and all allies in the room. And he has decent health. Even with the negative health that effect implies, it still puts him over 100, so that's fine. And your crew resist fire, which is weird. He also moves fast. Downside of Machant is that there's very few situations where you're going to be in a room for long enough with an enemy that the sabotage actually matters. He does make a good repair unit, but there are plenty of better repair units that we have here. So, yeah, Machant, not that great. Number 30, we have Dinesh. Now, Dinesh is potentially one of the best units in the game, but the downside is that her ability is that allied crew in the room have their ability cooldowns reduced by 80%, so their cooldowns are like 5 times faster or something like that. Okay, that's probably not the correct way to word this, but yeah, if you have units that have really powerful activated abilities, like, you'll need other unique characters to really take advantage of this, but potentially very powerful. Like, on this cruiser that you can see me pulling all the crew members from, Dinesh is probably one of the best boarders you can have for this. But that's just because it comes with all the other unique characters. So, she's not bad, but she needs synergy, and that's not incredibly easy to get for her. Now, number 29, we have Haynes. Now, Haynes' benefits is that he gains skills twice as fast. He cannot melee fight insectoids, so that's mantis and spiders, and I think there's something else, but I can't quite remember. At any rate, he has a 2.5 times ranged damage multiplier. Now, when you can get this off, this is a really sweet buff. It's like crazy high damage, and considering he learns skills very fast, he can easily max his combat. He needs like, I don't know, 8 kills to max it out. But the problem is that if Haynes is boarding at late game, then pretty much all enemy crew, and all enemy ships have at least 4 crew to send to fight off your borders at once, meaning that Haynes will almost never get his damage modifier in the late game. So it's kind of hard to use him late game, which is where he falls off at. But yeah, he's not awful. He doesn't have any real downsides, like who wants to melee with him, considering he has that high range damage modifier. But yeah. Number 28 is Jerry. Now, Jerry does absolutely nothing in the first part of the game. In fact, he does absolutely nothing until you get to the flagship. Okay, doing absolutely nothing is a bit of a bold-faced lie, considering that he does let you not have to fight any of the rebel fleet whenever you want to. Which, you know, Jerry as a get-out-of-jail-free card for the rebel fleet is sometimes useful. I'm not saying it's useless, but very few times you'll be able to actually take advantage of it, unless you want to, like, grab 2 more beacons or something like that. Which I guess does add up, but Jerry is kind of a late find considering he's a unique character. But once you get to the flagship, Jerry becomes a very powerful unit. He becomes probably the best boarder in the game, where he gets just super damage, super attack speed, and if you have an Equinoid, he becomes even better. But yeah, Jerry unfortunately does nothing for the early part of the game. I completely understand if you want to put Jerry higher than what I put him over here at like 28. But yeah, that's where he's going. Next on the list, 27, is Anorak. Now, Anorak, I'm going to be completely honest with you, I have literally never used his active ability. Like, explodes, dying, and healing ally crew to max health, and granting them a temporary 50% repair movement and health buff. I have not once ever done that. but the reason that he's good is that he can give your Zoltans an extra 5 permanent health. Now, this comes into play after overclocking, and that's important. And it's also a retroactive buff, meaning that if you activate it and then you later get a Zoltan, that Zoltan will have the HP buff. So, like, let's say you have a Zoltan Peacekeeper, which has 65 health by default. You use overclocking, which sets it to 39, so it has double energy gain. Every time you use this ability, it'll go up by 5 after that, so 39 to 44, 49, etc, etc. You can easily get back all the health you've lost and more with just a few jumps. Like, if you want to go fight the Rebel fleet, so you have like 1,000,000 empty beacons to constantly feed your Zoltans so that they can become pretty much immortal, you can do that. There is absolutely nothing stopping you from doing that. But Anorak does need synergy, which is, of course, a downside for him. Number 26 is conveniently Devorak. So Devorak is kind of the exact opposite of Anorak. He has double melee damage. He can teleport anywhere, which is a really good benefit considering that, you know, you don't even need a teleporter to use him to board and kill the enemy ship. Like, oh, the last unit on your opponent's ship is like a stupid fucking goddamn NG separatist that's constantly in nano form, so you can't crew kill them with lack of oxygen or burning. Send Devorak over there. He can do it. Just melees him once and kaboom. He also gives 2 bonus power, so if you want to keep him on your ship, he's good for that too. And if you are getting Devorak, there's most likely you already have Anorak, so you can buff his health and take advantage of that, etc, etc. Devorak is good, but actually there's really no downside to that. The downside is that he's not as good as the other units, because we are officially getting into the fairly good units here. Number 25 is Guntput. Guntput is a bit of a support unit for boarding teams. He every now and then heals them for 25 HP. He doubles passive healing, which can be very useful in synergy with other units that we will bring up later in the future. He regenerates fairly quickly if he's unharmed for a bit, so you teleport him back even if you're using Clone Bay. He'll get back in the fight. He'll help your other units get back in the fight. There's no need to, like, die and respawn if you don't want to lose skills. Only downside is half repair speed. He also has 120 HP, so he's pretty good. Yep, no downside here. Just keep him in, like, the 4th slot where less units will be attacking him. And yeah, he'll be good. Number 24 on the list is Knights. Now, Knights isn't particularly interesting. He has just the ability to cloak and deploy a breach bomb, and he sabotages 3 times as fast. And while cloaked, he will be sabotaging, if I remember correctly. He's not like the Knights of the Knights. Unless I'm wrong, in which case, sue me. But yeah, he is a good sabotage unit. He's like a slug saboteur, but just better. There's really no downside. He's just a bit boring. That's it. He does ignore doors, which can be useful. That's really all I have to say about Knights. He's just kind of boring. Not bad, though. So, 24 is, or which of these characters is it going to be? No, not 24, 23. It's Steven. Now, Steven is Ellie, in case you haven't done the stupid quest and you've prevented Ellie from killing. So Steven buffs all of your allies on your ship by double combat damage and healing, which means that he completely annihilates enemy borders. He's also immune to mind control and takes greatly reduced environmental damage, and he's fast as fuck. But yeah, he's an anti-boarding unit that can't fight himself, and he's immune to mind control. It's exactly what it says on the tin. He doesn't have a repair buff, unfortunately, but that's fine. He doesn't really need it. He can get around very quickly. He obviously can't, fight off borders himself because he's a pacifist, but that's generally fine. Number 22 is actually not a crew member, it's a drone, and that's a Captain Asshole. So Captain Asshole has a high HP, decently high combat damage drone that also heals your other units and can man systems at level 2 skill level. So, this is the onboard your ship version. So, first off, I'd like to point out he requires 1 power, so he's like the most power-efficient drone you can possibly have for terms of combat. He can also repair. It doesn't say this, but he can repair. He's one of the few manning things that can repair. But most of the time you're going to use him for boarding, in which case, he's very good for boarding. You know, if you can give him a drone booster for extra damage and extra healing of your crew. He can tank. Well, he can't really tank, but he can survive long enough for your other units to kill as well. He's just a generally very good guy. The downside with him is, of course, he requires a drone part if you want to deploy him as a boarding drone, and you can't choose where he goes because he's a boarding drone, so you're going to need to send him over to the enemy ship and then teleport to wherever he goes. And sometimes he goes to the worst room possible. Sometimes he enters the medbay instantly and dies. But that be the problem with Asshole. That's why he's not higher on the list. Number 21 is Ruin. Ruin is the crystal guy from the original base game, and he is a total tank. He locks down the room that he's in, and usually you're only locking it down and having like 1 or 2 units in there. During that time, Ruin heals like a total of 60 HP back or something like that, or maybe it was 70. And opponents cannot come in, even if they have door phasing, like ghosts can't come in, and your units can move out anytime, whenever you want. So basically, Ruin tanks, he allows you to kill some units in a lockdown room and then smash the system that it's in. Good boarding unit. I'd run Ruin whenever I get him. So, we've officially reached, you know, pretty damn good units. On to number 20. Number 20 is Tony Sr. So, Tony Sr., despite the fact that his description is literally slandering him for how awful he is, considering he moves at 1/4 speed, but his benefits are huge. So, he makes enemy crew in the same room take 25% extra damage, so that's not just a damage buff for himself, that's a damage buff for all your crew. So, he's a leech, but he drains 2 power from enemy systems instead of 1, so he's twice as effective as a normal leech. And he has 150 HP. And that's not even talking about his best power. The fact that he eats mechanical and energy crew, meaning that, you know, I'm pretty sure that includes Lanius. Does it include Lanius? Lanius, I don't remember if it works on Lanius. I know it works on the Anointed, so, yeah. So, yeah, Engies, Obelisks, Zoltans, and their Duskbringers. He just demolishes them slowly over time. He's a kind of a total powerhouse, really. Of course, the downside is that he has, like, no speed. He's the slowest base unit in the game, I'm pretty sure. He's, like, on speed with a rock paladin, if not slower. Like, let me give you an example. Let's move him over to the camera's room. Yeah. That's how slow he moves. Sorry, Turzel, you're, rapidly dying. Yeah. Actually, you know what? I can test this right now. Let's see if he... Let me just make my units immune to suffocation real quick. No, he does not eat Lanius. Okay. Problem solved. Okay, he doesn't eat Lanius, but he eats other energy crew and mechanical things. And drones. Can't forget drones, can we? But yeah. Good old 20th place. Now, what ability did I use to make my characters immune to suffocation and heal them? Well, that's Alkali, number 19. So, he takes double suffocation damage and less damage in combat because he's a shell. That's basic. So, his combustion ability, that makes... It basically just heals all of your crew on the same ship, which is pretty useful. And makes them immune to suffocation. They don't even have to be in the same room. If they are in the same room when he does this, it just heals them to full as well. So that's really good. Another thing is beneficial. You can go into the onboard lab and even if you don't have an upgraded medbay, you can get it and the upgrade for completely free. That saves you a lot of money. Unfortunately, he's an unlocked character, so of course, like, you won't find him for a fair amount of time, but honestly, that's fine. You're not going to build the onboard lab early on unless you're doing like superhuman hybrid build. Number 18 is the Beacon Eater. So you may have seen with him walking around the ship for me to test if Tony eats Lanius, he instantly drains oxygen from any room that he is in. That is bizarre, but powerful. So, obviously he has the extra sabotage speed and 200 health as well, so he's kind of a tank. And he can also eat beacons, as he says, which will give you, at empty inventory checks, you can have him give like 3 fuel and 18 scrap, approximately, on every empty beacon, with the chance that it doubles fleet pursual. That's of course a pretty major downside when used at the wrong time, but I mean, it's free junk that you can do at empty beacons. What's not to like? But yeah, you put him on a boarding ship. You of course will need other Lanius or units that don't need to breathe in order to take advantage of his ability to, you know, remove the inability to breathe from them. I worded that very poorly, but you understand what I'm saying, right? Number 17, the Spider Queen. So the Spider Queen has massive damage, triple in combat, can't repair, so this is obviously just a boarding unit. And she can fill the ship with other spiders. Now spiders are pretty good combat units, and the Weavers have pretty decently high repair speed, if you want to use them for that. So, you know, you can have a ship entirely on spiders, considering that she makes all spiders controllable, but if you send her over to an enemy ship, when you have other spiders on board, those spiders on board your ship going insane. You won't be able to control them unless you use their spider ability. But, you know, a triple combat damage unit with extra healing received and decently high health, pretty good. Number 16 is Obion. I really wanted to put Obion higher, but his downside is kind of annoying. So, his active ability damages all nearby crew over time. Enemy crew lose 4 HP a second, allied crew lose 2 HP a second. So, it damages your own crew with the exception of Obion. Meaning, though, if you somehow manage to get more than one Obion, then that new Obion will be immune. Like, you can activate 3 Obion abilities at once, and none of them will take damage, but any other crew you have will all take damage. He also decreases healing speed of all other crew in the room. That includes your own, so be careful with that. He does take a good resistance to suffocation, but 250 health. That's crazy good. That's like the highest of most other units. There's one unit that has more HP, but we'll get to him when we get to him. Number 15 is... where is he? Kazakh Plethkalik. I hope I pronounced that correctly, but I don't care if I don't. So, he's a high damage unit that has extra combat damage if he is alone. It decreases slightly for each other allied crew. His active ability pretty much just lets him kill a unit instantly. It's a massive damage buff. Like, Kazakh can easily turn a 4-person fight into a 3-person fight. Sure, it's not like the highest, you know, the fastest cooldown. Takes a while to come back, but sometimes you only need to use it once before you can teleport back again, or, you know, die, respawn. A downside is he does not get Freddy's buff, which I'm surprised he doesn't, but yeah, we'll get that later. That's more on Freddy's part. He's a good boarding unit, you know, 2.5 times damage. He does only have 100 HP though. 14. We're getting to the good ones here. The Anointed. The Anointed is crazy good with 200 HP and supplies 2 power if you want to use her on the board. She also has increased sabotage and her active ability to damage the hull and system and cause a breach of whatever room she's in, and heals her to full, and quadruples her stats while it's active. Or, well, roughly quadrupling damage. Like, that is absolutely insane. Like, this unit is crazy. The downside, of course, is that whenever she's not at max health and not in her power-up ability, she really loses health quickly. Like, it's kind of crazy how quickly she loses health. So, she's a bit of a high-maintenance unit. Like, you need Reconstructive Teleport or a Clone Bay, otherwise, you're gonna have a bad time with her. Like, if you're on board an enemy ship and they cloak and you can't bring her back, even if she's not fighting anything, she'll die on her own. It's kind of really annoying. But use her right and she is incredibly powerful. She also drains oxygen very quickly in her powered up form, so be mindful. Maybe team her up with the Beacon Eater if you can find them both. Number 13 is Freddy. We were just talking about Freddy before, so Freddy, his ability is that he uses the Mantis Pheromone buff on any nearby Mantis, whether they be Hive or Free. It's basically, Freddy doesn't buff himself with pheromones, he buffs the others, so buffing their power. And even generic Mantis can take this. And Freddy himself is just generally really good. He takes less damage in combat, he has double combat damage, and he has normal repair speed. And he learns skills incredibly quickly. Like, let's see, I can see this myself. So he needs 5 evasions, 18 shield blocks, 20 weapon fires, 6 repairs, and just 2 kills for a level each. Like, that's crazy good. But, as I said before, for some reason, Kazakh Plethkalik does not gain a pheromone buff, which is weird, considering that he doesn't have a pheromone buff of his own. He has an ability, but it's not a pheromone buff. So, yeah, kind of weird. Maybe it's weird to code that. Number 12, Ariadne. Ariadne is a Lost Sun commando, basically, that has all 3 firebombs can be used really quickly. It's like got a 1-second cooldown. Obviously, you wouldn't use them all like back to back. But her main benefit is the fact that enemy crew in the same room take extra fire damage. Also, all enemy crew on the same ship lose fire immunity. Like, you can use Ariadne to burn ghosts. You can use it to burn other rock crew members. You can use them to burn obelisks. Like, you can burn anything. Like, one of the whole reasons I was able to beat the Cell, like, Nexus place was because I used Ariadne's cruiser, and basically I burnt them all to death because they had very little burn resistance once I removed it, of course. Ariadne can carry your run. Ariadne has great synergy with, obviously, other Rockmen who don't need to, you know, they don't need to have resistance to fire. She's great with ghosts as well. Like, there's another unit that we'll talk about later on, higher up, that has marvelous synergy with Ariadne. Now, number 11, I can't actually show on here because this unit does not take up a crew slot. It is Aenwithe, the cognitive engineer, so you're going to have to deal with this little thing here. But yes, he does extra combat damage, and he has half repair speed. Now, he moves by teleporting, but this is not a basic, you know, Duskbringer teleporter. This is a long-range teleporter, in fact. So, Aenwithe can teleport instantly between this ship or your opponent's ship, as long as they don't have a super shield and you don't have a super shield bypass. If you do, then you can just do that. So, he can go anywhere. He doesn't need to breathe. He takes no damage from fire. So, yeah, just a great combat unit with high health that can go anywhere and doesn't take up a crew slot. But does obviously show here. Half repair speed is kind of weird, but that's fine. You don't need to worry about that, really. Now we are getting to the cream of the crop, the top 10. These, I had to carefully think about how to position these guys, because honestly, it's hard ranking one over the other when you get to it. But some of them just barely edged out others. Some of them beat them by country miles. But number 10 is Vortigern. I'm not going to say his full name because, honestly, I don't remember it. So first off, he's a Rock Crusader, so he has 300 health, making him the highest health unit of a unique character. And he regenerates 65 HP per second if you use his ability, and he does triple damage for 20 seconds. But downside, of course, is, as it says here, he moves very slowly and takes 7 times more damage from all sources. Be careful, do not hit him with an anti-bio beam of some sort. He will die instantly. But as long as you do that, and he's not fighting, like, multiple high damage units, he can easily shrug them off. Plus, that triple damage really helps him. It says he slowly heals and fires, but he actually heals rather quickly in fires. Like, that's blatant false advertising. That's downplaying his contribution to the team. And, of course, he can turn other rock crew members, such as useless outcasts, into cultists. And in case you've never used cultists, they are very good with Reconstructed Teleporter, because you can use their ability that makes them lose like 80 health for greatly increased stats, and then just teleport them to the enemy ship and they'll be at full health and completely clobber absolutely everything on the enemy ship. So Vortigern can greatly buff all power that you have in terms of boarding. You'll notice that I'll be mentioning boarding a lot, but that's just because most unique characters revolve around boarding. There's some that don't, but yeah. Number 9, Erwin. Now, if like a few months ago you would have asked me, oh, how good is Erwin? I'd say he's absolute trash, because I didn't understand how good his ability was. So, temporarily neutralizes all crew except himself in the room, setting their stats to default values. So, this doesn't affect abilities, as it says, or death effects. But what it really means is that Erwin takes away all benefits that a unit has. Also all downsides, but that rarely comes into play. What this really means, though, is Erwin can 1v1 any unit in the game. Erwin can 1v1 Legionnaires, he can 1v1 like Obion, pretty much, I think. Okay, maybe not because of his active ability. But this motherfucker can 1v1 Sylvan Prime. That's how good this ability is. And he removes mind control immunity too. Like, oh my god, there's so much that's good. I had a run where I got boarded by 3 Obelisk Royals, and I had Erwin. I had Erwin go from piloting, which is where he was, into the room they all boarded. I activated his ability and then ran out, so I instantly made them all lose 200 HP and their double damage buff. And I made them vulnerable to fire and they needed to breathe. So I immediately vented the room and sent in, like, 1 Lanius Welder, and that Lanius Welder just demolished all of them. Like, it was funny how weak they all became instantly. That's the power of Erwin. Like, you don't fuck with Erwin. If you have a level 4 teleporter, you can send him directly onto a ghost ship, activate his ability. Those ghosts need to breathe now. There's no oxygen on a ghost ship. It's funny. Erwin. Unfortunately, Erwin can't sabotage, and he, other than his tranquilize ability, he has really nothing. He just has extra damage. But that ability, my god. Number 8, Ellie, the Equinoid. I'm of course talking about the maximum bloodlust version instead of the basic version that you can just find from the event. This is implying that you have, of course, done all the quests and had her kill. Now, she is the strongest physical unit. Should I say he? Because it's technically just Steven, I don't know. At any rate, Ellie Psychopath McJones has very fast melee damage and very, well, decently strong damage, but that 3.5 damage speed, crazy good. The downside, of course, is that she goes psychopathic and breaks down, well, doesn't break down doors. She becomes uncontrollable for a bit, but she does do double damage, which is fine. You really don't plan around that. Downside, of course, being you can't teleport her with that, which is the real problem. But usually, when this happens, you've already won the fight, because, you know, you move her around the fight, stab a few high health units repeatedly. She kind of cleans house, especially with the human buff of diversification. Yeah, this is the epitome of straight up big number damage. That's about it. Also moves really damn fast. Doesn't say that, but yeah. Number 7. This one is... I wanted to put this one at number 1, but I just didn't have the heart to, so Decius. Decius is probably one of the greatest boarding units of all time. Sure, he has only 80 HP and less speed, But he has door phasing, he takes less damage in combat. Triple sabotage speed. Triple sabotage speed. He is a ghost, obviously, so he can get the lab upgrade where he heals from fire, so he's harder to kill. And he heals all other units in the room and damages all enemies in the room. Like, heals friends. It's basically just lifesteal on all other units. He doesn't heal himself from it, sadly, but he'd be completely busted if he could. He would be number 1 if he could. But yeah, Decius can just absolutely dominate any fight. Combine Decius with Dinesh, and oh my god, every fight is won. As long as Decius doesn't die to like Zoltan explosions all happening all at once, which has happened before to me. Very sad. Just be careful with that, and you'll be good. Number 6, Sylvan. You know you have some serious competition when Sylvan is number 6. So he has 250 health, and he takes 0.1 times damage from fires and suffocation, and high damage in combat, and he has max skills. And his ability is pretty good too. It deploys a breach, lockdown, and ion bomb, meaning that it can just absolutely shit on any system you send him against. You can also use it to farm repair experience on your own ship if you want. I don't know why you do this, but I mean, you do you. It's something if you really want to min-max your stats. But you just have to wait a while for the cooldown to come off. But yeah, Sylvan kind of doesn't need to breathe. You can send him against obelisks and ghosts and he'll clean house. Yeah, there's really no downside to Sylvan. He's also a slug, so he benefits from that too. I have nothing negative to say about this character. This is what we're getting into when we have the top 6. Number 5. Tadeo. Now, his ability to disable a current system for 15 seconds is... this is crazy. Like, honestly, I wouldn't have put this as a thing. Like, this is way too powerful. Like, imagine fighting any enemy and you can just turn off their shields instantly. Like, with a teleporter. You do need a clone bay if you're going to do this, because he dies very quickly if you do this. Like, if you send him alone to an enemy ship, or if you, like, blow it up and he's on it, because, like, you take any beam weapon and you disable an enemy's shields. Like, the flagship phase 1 has 5 shields, you can just remove them. All of them, instantly. It's funny. Like, he may not be a competent president, but my god, he's great boarding unit. There's like no downside. That's about it. Sure, he becomes weaker, but who cares? Alright. Top 4. We have Terzel. Now, originally I thought Terzel as only a repair unit, but his ability is stupidly powerful. I mean, along with his passive as well. So he only has 0.4 times repair speed, which is like worse than a mantis. But he does passively buff repair speed for everyone else in the room. And he learns skills faster, that's fine. Reduce hazard damage, fine. Max health is 115, that's good. He has 0.8 times combat damage, so he's a bit worse than normal, but that's fine. He also moves at very quick speed, is immune to mind control, that's also good. That active ability temporarily shields all crew in the room, including himself, only taking 10% of damage from all sources, by the way. Literally all sources, including biobeam damage, like getting hit by missiles, bombs from enemy units, you name it. And it quadruples repair speed of all ally crew in the room, including himself. You can use him plus 1 NG defender. They can repair a fully broken, maxed out shields in like 3 seconds. Like, oh my god, this guy is insane. And that damage plus his shield making all your other units basically immortal for as long as it's up. Like, he is an ultimate boarding unit as well. He just does everything. This is just bonkers how crazy Terzel is. Like, if you've never used boarding Terzel, try it. You won't regret it. He's just bonkers crazy. Number 3. is Admiral Tully. Yeah, we all expected him very high on the list, but he deserves it. So, 200 max health, so he's a tank. Extra repair speed and damage. And all allied crew move at 1.25 times speed, if in the same room as him. This can be negative, of course, if you have faster units, like certain Mantis. But if you're using, like, slow units, such as Vortigern, who moves at very slow speeds, or if you're using Tony Sr., just super speed. And of course, he's max level, takes half damage from hazards such as suffocation and fires. Main reason everyone uses him for, it's the airstrike. It shoots down like 6 bombs, being breach, normal, or fire. Meaning that he can just totally cripple enemy ships. He does have to wait a little bit and you only get 1 per jump. But, dude, this ability is weird. Like, so powerful. Like, you don't even need boarding. This dude is super powerful even without boarding. Like, the only downside you have is that you literally get him at the end of the game. Like, you can't take him to the cell event unless you start with him on a ship or something like that. Oh, Tully, somehow you didn't reach first place, but there's 2 units better. And one of them is right next to him. Number 2, Slocknog. So, Slocknog, if you're just reading his abilities, you may not think him as that great. Yeah, he's immune to stun. He passively heals nearby allies for 2 HP a second. That's not much. He heals at triple speed from all sources. That's actually a lot more useful than you'd think. Like, if you pair him with Captain Asshole, he heals for 6 HP a second, which is enough to, halve all combat damage he takes, but he's not going to take much combat damage because his active ability stuns all enemy crew in the room for a long period of time. Now, this cooldown is 50 seconds, but it's a 20-second stun. 20 seconds. Like, you power up an Eradicator beam with just 20 seconds, man. 20 seconds, and the downside is he loses telepathic abilities while that's happening. Like, who cares? It doesn't mean anything. It's a negative downside, or well, not a negative downside, it's a non-factor. Like, my god, Slocknog, you're crazy, man. And you have to choose between him and Knights for the event that you get him from. It's not a choice. What was Knights ranked? 24 versus 2. Oh, Slocknog, my beloved. Now, of course, there has to be a number 1. And you may notice that there's only, 3 units that we didn't do. I didn't talk about Likar Cappy because it's just a Mantis Bishop, not a unique character. And the Crystalline Equinoid, because it's not also a unique character, you can't talk with them. And yep, the number 1 unit in the game is Ujmaju. So Ujmaju takes less damage from combat, and at empty beacons can summon Morph Crew if fed resources, and is immune to suffocation. Now, you may question, Spartan, what does it mean to summon Morph Crew? Well, summoning Morph Crew allows you to either summon a normal morph, 3 normal morphs, or 1 technopath. And morph technopaths are by far the most broken normal unit in the game. Let's say I decided to create a morph technopath, I think it's like 2 drone parts and a fuel, at an empty beacon. I could then go into my thing here and create a copy of Captain Asshole, or Ganna, or even the stupid Roomba thing here. For free, I could immediately turn them into him, and I just have another Captain Asshole with, like, slightly reduced HP because of the morph downside. But the fact that you can have infinite Captain Assholes, and board an enemy ship with 4 Captain Assholes that are all healing each other, and have high damage, like, they become immortal. You can't lose at that point. But if you really want to break this game, you can take Director drones or Manager drones, which have maxed skills and provide power. Like, ideally, you wouldn't have, like, any units manning systems. Like, who cares about these units manning systems when you can use a Manager drone? So basically, you're using 1 crew to give your ship plus 4 power. Like, that's stupidly powerful. Like, you can power every system up to the max. Like, even on this ship that has, you know, every system aside from the Nexus versions of the items and artillery. Actually, no, it has an artillery. But yeah, you can fully power the ship very easily with just a few of the manager drones that you can get from ancient sectors. And if you need to repair, because they can't repair, that's fine, just use mender drones. If you need anti-personnel or strong combat, you know, use asshole if you can, or just use an atomizer drone. Like, the possibilities are limitless. Like, Alkali says that the Maju Morph Creations was the best thing ever, and unfortunately he was right. Like there's a reason Maju's cruiser is a piece of garbage at the start. It's because Maju just completely trivializes the game if you know how to use Maju properly. Really though, it's morph technopaths as the broken ones, but Maju can create as many as it wants. So yep, that's the end of the video. I've been talking for about almost 50 minutes, so I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have insight, or if you want to talk about what you would put elsewhere, then please write a comment in the thing below. I read all of them, and if you have a good point, I might respond. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. I may do more Multiverse in the future, but currently I'm grinding to get the stupid One Who Rhymes cruiser, because luck-based. Yay. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video that I make. Till then, goodbye.